Hi everybody, and welcome to another week of Makers Monday. I am Anastasia Radloff, aka Stampin' Blondie, and I'm excited to bring to you my Christmas crafting series. Now Halloween is over, Thanksgiving is just a few weeks away, and right after that is all things Christmas. But now is the perfect time to start your Christmas crafting. Now let me just make sure that I am live here on Facebook and my YouTube page. If you're watching live, make sure to comment, say hi, let me know that you're joining me. Let's see, it looks like we are live here on Facebook. So let me just refresh YouTube here. Looks like should be good to go. All right, let me just click this and looks like I'm not live on YouTube, but that's okay. I am live here on Facebook because I am seeing all of your comments. Hello, Veronica. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Tanya. Thank you all for joining me. I know with daylight savings time, it kind of threw my time off just a little bit, but I'm still glad that you guys were all able to hop on and join me. Arizona actually does not change time zones, so it was perfect. I loved not having to change all my clocks. Before moving here, when I lived in Iowa, I'm so used to changing my clocks, so it was weird when we moved here to not have to do that. All right, today I'm going to show you 3 projects featuring the Santa's Express stamp set, coordinating dies, and designer series paper. I love this. It's a very retro, mid-modern century Christmas with some fun pops of non-traditional Christmas colors. Now, it looks like everybody's on here. Hello. Hi, Susan. Thank you for joining me from Scotland. I hope you are having wonderful weather over there. Now, I hope you guys had a great week last week. There were 2 things that happened last week that I was so excited about. The first one is I got my Invisalign off. Now, when Stampin' Up! Canceled the incentive trip last year, they were able to give us some money, and I used that to put towards my Invisalign. I had been wanting to have it for a while, and a year later I am now done with Invisalign, and I'm so excited to show off my teeth and not have those little buttons on my teeth anymore. Now, the second thing that I was really excited about is Stampin' Up! Released their rankings of the top demonstrators across the world. Now, in the United States and North America, there are about 42,000 demonstrators. So that is a lot of demonstrators. Now, because of your support and help with me along the way last year by attending classes, events, even coming to my Makers Mondays, I placed in the number 107 out of 42,000 demonstrators. I was completely blown away and definitely excited to be able to bring you more and more classes in this upcoming year. So thank you everybody for your support. I look forward to bringing you more fun projects and exciting things along the way. But last year, number 107, I cannot believe it. Just blown away. So thank you for all the hearts and stars I see down there. Thank you so much, guys. All right, now today, like I mentioned, I'm kicking off my Christmas crafting series. So for about the next 6 weeks, I'll be creating Christmas projects each week for you to be able to have for the holiday season before the rush kicks in. I mean, some people may even say the rush has already started. So let's go ahead and swap the camera. We'll do Prize Patrol first, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Now, if you are new to me, each week I do something called Prize Patrol. So all you have to do is share this video, comment that you shared, and you'll be entered into Prize Patrol. Sometimes your Facebook security settings don't always let me know where you are sharing from, so make sure to comment that you shared. Now, last week our Prize Patrol was for this really cute penguin designer series paper, no longer available. The best part about this is that you can cut out all these little animals for your projects and create some Christmas projects yourself. Now, the winner last week was Paula Bringman. So congratulations, Paula, you are our winner. I don't think I have your address. So if you could send me a message, then I could get your package of paper in the mail to you. So congratulations, Paula. She was our Prize Patrol winner from last week. Now this week's Prize Patrol is another designer series paper. This is the Silver and Gold 6x6 designer series paper. Now this is a great paper because with the holidays you have silver and gold, traditional Christmas. You can jazz this up, but you can also change the background of the papers by using your Stampin' blender brushes, your Stampin' blends, just sponge daubers, however you want to change the background of this, and the silver and gold will resist that color. So very fun to be able to change the background on these for just a fun technique. So make sure to comment and share this video to be entered into this week's Prize Patrol. Now, let's see. Oh, if you see on here right below me, there is a little red banner across the front. Now, if you are wanting this week's Makers Mondays projects, if you place an order of $35, you'll receive the make and takes for this week's projects here. You'll receive all 3 project pieces. Now, there won't be any stamped images or sentiments, so you can either substitute with what you have in your craft supply, or you can add the bundle to your order. Now, orders of $50 or more are going to be receiving a free roll of the 3/16 of an inch iridescent trim, and I'm using that on all 3 projects here today. Again, a fun supply item that you can change the color of with your Stampin' Blends markers or your sponge daubers. So very fun to be able to change the color of this trim. So if you want today's Makers Mondays project, just go to my website right below and shop there. Use the host code. You have to use the host code. Items, orders of $35 prior to shipping and tax. You can choose anything you want. Will receive the projects here for free, and then orders of $50 or more will receive a full roll of the iridescent trim. Now, aren't our projects so cute today? Like, I love this. This is actually from the Coordinating Designer Series paper. So all I had to do was cut out these images to create this fun project. We'll be stamping the train on this one. Again, very mid-century modern is what they call it, retro, whatever you want to say, with your mint macaron, your petal pink poppy parade. And then here we go. I love this little reindeer that's in the rail car, and he just looks like he's having so much fun. So very exciting for our projects here today. All right, as always, each week on my website, stampinblondie.com, I provide a project PDF. Now on here has all of the item names, item numbers, and the prices, as well as the dimensions for the 3 projects we're creating here today. Now don't forget, it's dual-sided now, so make sure to print out both sides. And if you're wanting the host code, again, it's on here, and this is good until November 10th, so Thursday evening at midnight. If you place that order, I'll send you the pieces to the projects here today. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in. The first project we're gonna be creating is this fun little guy with the Santa and Mrs. Claus. Now this Santa's Express 12x12 designer series paper. Let me get that in shot here. Now this, like I mentioned, has some non-traditional Christmas colors with it. We have Bermuda Bay, Cajun Craze, Early Espresso, some mint macaron, petal pink, and as well as our Granny Apple Green, Evening Evergreen, Shaded Spruce, and Poppy Parade, your traditional red and green Christmas. Now we have some fun Santa designs. We have the train. This is the one with him dancing with Mrs. Claus. It's kind of hard to get all that image just in that little box. This is that train, and then some fun different patterns for your projects. The Santa's Delivery stamp set, this is what it looks like. Fun images to be able to color with your Stampin' Blends, but then also sentiments to go with it. If you've watched me before, you know I love a stamp set that has both images and sentiments together. It's an all-in-one stamp set. Now this is a photopolymer stamp set, meaning it is traditional, see-through and clear, so you can see exactly where you're stamping at. Now the coordinating dies, these are the dies to go along with this. We're going to be using some of these on our projects today, but this actually, like the train and the rail car, these signs, they cut out pieces from the designer series paper. So you actually don't even have to stamp and then die cut. You can just die cut straight from the designer series paper to be able to create your projects. All right, so our first project here today, in your kit, if you get the Makers Monday kits this week, you'll have a piece of 8.5 by 5.5 shaded spruce cardstock. Again, those dimensions are on that PDF tutorial, which is free on my website. You'll have a piece of that designer series paper. Both sides are beautiful. So I really liked this piece here with the trees. And we're gonna fold our shaded spruce in half and use our bone folder to crisp up our line. Yes, Leanne, this paper is beautiful. I love it. Hi, Lori. She is a first-time watcher from North Carolina. Hello, thank you for joining me. And we're gonna add that right in the middle of our paper here. Now you'll also have a piece of vellum cardstock. Now if you've never worked with vellum, it is a semi-transparent cardstock. It is a lot thinner. You can see a lot thinner than our normal colored cardstock like I have here. Now I'm going to emboss this, and we're going to use the Whimsical Woodland embossing folder. So this is a fun embossing folder that has lots of trees in the background. Now because this is a larger embossing folder, we're gonna need our big Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine here. So let's grab that out, and I'm gonna show you a trick on how to adhere vellum as well. So vellum, because it is semi-transparent, you'll have to make sure you glue it down just a certain way or your adhesive is going to show through. Because we're using embossing folder, we're going to use platform number 1 first. That'll go down. Then our embossing folder hinge first. You always want to add your embossing folder with the hinge first. And then plate number 4. And we're just going to run that through our machine. Okay, and we're gonna put this off to the side because we're gonna use that again on a project. So put our plates away and our folder. Now you can see the folder has this black line. I just use that as a guide for my vellum to make sure that it's straight when it went through. And then you have this really pretty, fun vellum design on there. Okay, our card and our sample. And we have Mrs. Claus and Santa Claus. Now you can see the best thing about this paper is that they come in different skin tones. So there's a variety of skin tones for Santa and Mrs. Claus. So we've got our piece here and then another piece from our designer series paper. Now we're gonna actually adhere Santa to our vellum first, and we're gonna add that with Stampin' Dimensionals. So we're gonna flip them over, and all I did was just fussy cut this out of the paper. I just fussy cut it ahead of time to save us a little time here on the live, but unfortunately this big design does not have any dies to coordinate with it, but it's pretty easy to fussy cut these guys out. You just have to be very careful about their hand area because it's kind of thin. All right, we're gonna peel off our Stampin' Dimensional backs first, and then we're gonna add that to our piece of vellum. Now they're gonna hang off of our vellum piece here. And then we're also going to add our sentiment piece. Now this sentiment says, "You make the season jolly," and we're gonna be using Tuxedo Black Memento ink for this. So we have a little piece of Petal Pink ink. Now I may go off screen for you guys just because this is such a tiny piece of paper. I wanna make sure I'm stamping right in the middle of that. And we're gonna add this with multi-purpose liquid glue just because it's so thin here. You don't wanna use Stampin' Seal for that. And we're gonna adhere this right to the middle of our vellum here. And because it's vellum, you may just have to hold down for a few seconds to let that glue adhere to the paper. All right, now with our vellum, we're gonna flip this over, and where our Santa and Mrs. Claus and our sentiment are, that's the only place we're gonna add our glue. You want to do this because if you add glue to any other areas, it's gonna show through, and you don't want any adhesive to show through with vellum. So I just like to add little, sorry, I just need the shadow here to see where the red is. There we go. So I just added little bits of multi-purpose liquid glue where my pieces already are. And now we're gonna adhere this straight down to our card base. And then you'll just kind of need to push in those areas where you have some glue. And because we added some Stampin' Blends at the bottom of Santa and Mrs. Claus, they'll be able to help adhere that down as well. Now I have my piece of Designer Series paper, this little sign. Again, this actually has a die to go with it, so you can die cut it. I just fussy cut this out just because it's so small. It was easier to fussy cut rather than die cut, but it has both. So if you hate fussy cutting, which I know some people do, then you can easily just cut that out with die. And I'm just gonna put that in the lower left. Now our embellishment of the week, this is the iridescent trim. Again, very fun, sparkly. I love this, that you can change the color of it. I'm gonna take about 8 inches of ribbon. Now I like to tie my bows with just a little extra ribbon. And I can always trim off the edges, but when I have an extra bit, I can easily tie the bow just a little bit better for me. All right, you can pull the pieces to make the bow whatever size you'd like. And then we're just gonna trim off the edges here. And with our mini glue dots. Now I like to add our mini glue dots to this trim because if you were to use liquid glue, it can easily ooze out the sides of it. So I'm just gonna use my mini glue dots, and we're gonna put one right in the middle, and our ribbon's gonna go under our sentiment, and then I like to add just a couple more glue dots with this trim because it is a little thicker ribbon with it having that tinsel included. It just needs a little bit more adhesive. But that is our first card featuring the Santa's Delivery stamp set and coordinating dies, and then our Santa Express Designer Series paper. So I hope you guys like this project. It's fun with this vellum in the background. It just gives a little bit of texture to the project, and that little tinsel just pops right out there with some sparkle. I mean, you can't have Christmas projects without some kind of sparkle. Wink of Stella, some glitter. Very, very fun to be able to create that. All right, so that's our first card. We're gonna put that off to the side, and we're gonna work on our second. So here is our second card. Now, I will tell you, I actually, this hasn't a layout that I have used before. I really like this layout. It shows the variety of Designer Series paper. It's very simple to put together, and it's fun for a bunch of occasions. So I kind of cased my own project. If you're not too familiar with what casing is, it's C-A-S-E. It means copy and share everything. So I copied and shared a previous project that I've made before. So if you ever get stuck trying to figure out what would be a good layout for a project, always go back to projects you've made before, and you can always tweak them to be able to work for your new project. All right, if you get this week's Makers Monday, you'll get a piece of Evening Evergreen cardstock, 5.5 by 8.5. We're gonna take our bone folder and crisp up our line here. Again, all the dimensions are on that project PDF tutorial on my website. A piece of basic white cardstock, And we're gonna adhere that down to our card base here. I think I may be running out of glue. Hopefully I have enough for Makers Monday today. That's gonna go right in the middle of our project here. Now our 3 pieces of designer series paper. Now with our designer series paper, you know it's dual-sided, so I just chose 2 patterns from the package that kind of coordinate with each other. So we have 3 pieces of designer series paper, 2 of the same design, 1 of this pattern that says Fa La La, which I think is really cute. Now before I glue anything down, I'm just going to kind of shift and shimmy my paper to get it exactly where I want before I adhere anything down. I just want to make sure my spacing is all correct. And then once you have that, you can glue them down. Now I do prefer to use liquid glue on this part just because if my paper is not exactly where I want it, I have a few seconds to be able to move my paper around and get it right where I want it. So I'm gonna do the 2 outside pieces first, and then I can evenly space out that middle one right in between the 2. I'm glad that you guys liked that first project. Very fun. Like I love this paper. This definitely drew me in. I just love this so much. All right, I'm supposed to have a strip of Evening Evergreen. I don't know where that went. Is it under my card? Let's see. All right, well, I don't have that piece of Evening Evergreen. Not sure where that went, but this is gonna go, there's a piece of Evening Evergreen that goes right across here. I don't even have a piece close to me to be, oh, I do, right here. I'm gonna cut a piece of Evening Evergreen. So this is 1 inch by 5.5 because that is the length of our card. So we're just gonna get out, let's see, is that long enough? No. So we're just gonna get 1 inch and then 5.5. There we go. Evening Evergreen paper to the rescue. All right, that is now gonna go across the front of our card, and we're just going to adhere that with our glue, and that's gonna go right there, right across the front. Now we'll have a piece of basic white cardstock. Now I cut this with the Layering Circles dies. There's a variety of die sizes for circles in there. And we're going to add that to our card with some Stampin' Dimensionals. I'm gonna add 1 at the top and 1 at the bottom. And that is going to straddle that piece of Evening Evergreen cardstock. So just gonna go right over that. Now this is from the Santa Express Designer Series paper, and we're actually gonna use the dies to cut out that design. So we have, or you can hand cut it if you like, but with this one, it does take just a little bit longer because it is a little more intricate to hand cut. Sometimes I'll choose to hand cut if it takes a shorter amount of time to set up the machine and get everything set up. Sometimes it's just quicker to hand cut things. All right, with this, I'm gonna add washi tape. Washi tape is paper tape, and this will help hold my die in place when I run it through my machine. So we're gonna come back. Now I just am using my big machine because I had that embossing folder. If you just get the dies, you can always use the mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. These dies do fit through the mini machine, but I didn't want to get both machines out today. So we've just got our 1 die to die cut here. And we're going to take that out, add this here. So with the washi tape, it held our rail car in place, and then you just want to gently lift off washi tape. Even though it is paper tape, it still can rip your paper, so you just want to be very careful when you lift that off. And then we have that fun little die cut, and we didn't even have to stamp anything, just straight cut from our designer series paper. Okay, that's gonna go down with our multi-purpose liquid glue, and that's gonna go right in the middle here of our circle. Now you can see that designer series paper has two different designs. One is the one with the little reindeer, and then the second one is just presents. So I wanted to show you guys both of those pieces here. All right, now, why am I missing white paper now? What the heck happened? I swear I cut for all of this. I don't know why I'm missing paper. So strange. Okay, we're just gonna cut our paper. Let's see, my directions have the dimensions at the bottom, so I can easily cut these. All right, so we needed a 7/8 by 2 3/4 piece of basic white. So 7/8 by 2 3/4. You kind of get a little behind the scenes to Makers Monday here. There's our basic white piece of paper. And we're gonna stamp using mint macaron ink. So I pulled that from our designer series paper. There's mint in the background, and I really wanted that to stand out. And the sentiment says elf approved and sleigh delivered. So I think that's perfect for our sentiment with the little rail car with all the presents. Now we're gonna stamp this right in the middle. Sorry if I'm off screen, I just need to make sure I'm stamping it right where I need it. And one edge of this, we are gonna cut this flag design. So the best way that I learned how to do this is to just take your scissors and do a little snip up the middle, and then from one corner to the other corner, and same thing on the other side, and you have the perfect even flag on both sides. So very easy to be able to get that design in there. We're gonna add our glue here. Now you definitely wanna use liquid glue for this part because we're gonna tuck this under the circle. So it is going to just shimmy that adhesive right in there, and then you can move it around to get it exactly situated where you want it. So if you were to use a stamp and seal, you don't have that slide of the adhesive, so you want to be able to just slide that right under the circle. All right, back in with our trim here, about 8 inches long. Tie this into a bow, and once again we're going to use mini glue dots to adhere that right to the card. I love this trim. I love Christmas so much. So last year, I had COVID over Christmas. I got COVID 2 days before Christmas. So it was one of the worst Christmases I've ever had. And I am so excited this year for Christmas to be able to actually do the things for Christmas. Because last year I was sleeping about 20 hours a day. I didn't get out of bed. I FaceTimed my family on Christmas Eve crying because I was quarantined in my bedroom. So this year I'm determined Christmas is gonna be much better, much better than it was last year. No COVID. All right, and there's our second project featuring the Santa Express Designer Series paper and the Santa's Delivery stamp set and coordinating bundle. So I hope you guys like this project. Quick and fun. Again, a great layout for a variety of occasions. You can swap out the designer series paper to be any occasion that you want, and you could even stamp right here in the middle instead of adding designer series paper. So a fun Christmas card. I love that little sentiment. Elf approved and sleigh delivered. Very fun. All right, looks like you guys like that one too. I'm so happy. Now I have to say this card here is my favorite one that we're gonna create today. I love the pop of Poppy Parade against Mint Macaron with Petal Pink. Now these 3 colors would not think Christmas to me, but this is very fun and I love the way this one turned out. All right, let's get the basket because we're gonna be doing some coloring. So if you get the kit this week, you have a piece of Mint Macaron cardstock. you'll have a piece of that Santa's Express Designer Series paper. Very fun colors here. And we're gonna fold our paper in half, and we're going to adhere our Designer Series paper right down to the front. So that was the back side of the previous card that we did. So you get a different look of all the Designer Series papers here. I love these papers. I did not want to cut into them, but I have to say, if you love paper, use it. That's the point. Don't hoard it. Share it with others. Okay. Now, a bunch of layering going on here today. We have a piece of Poppy Parade cardstock, basic white, and our Poppy Parade Designer Series paper. Here's the back side of that one. Look at that fun scene. That is another card that I wanted to make. Now, we're just gonna layer these three together with our adhesives. So just right in the middle of each one of those. There we go. In the middle here. Hi, Tammy. You're not late. You're just on time. I'm working on the best card of all three, I think. I love this one. But it's always recorded, so you can go back and rewatch. All right, to the back of this, we're gonna add our Stampin' Dimensionals. So just one on each corner, just to make it pop. Give it a little height against the rest of our Designer Series paper here. And let's do one in the middle just for good measure. And swear these little pieces get everywhere. And that's just gonna go right in there. Now, we have a piece of basic white cardstock, and we are going to stamp the little choo-choo train from the stamp set. So it's this one right here. We're gonna stamp this guy. Very fun to create and color him in. But because we're gonna be using Stampin' Blends, we want to use our Tuxedo Black Memento ink. Now, you know to use Tuxedo Black Memento ink with your Stampin' Blends, because I've mentioned it before, stinky versus non-stinky. Your StazOn ink is very stinky, so you want to use that with watercolor pencils that are not stinky. Our Tuxedo Black, oops, I didn't even get the middle of that. Our Tuxedo Black ink is non-stinky ink. So you want to use this with a stinky item, such as our Stampin' Blends. They're alcohol-based markers, so they have a scent to them. Now, I don't condone like sniffing or huffing your craft supplies, but you can tell they're alcohol-based when you open them. So just remember stinky versus non-stinky. All right, we're gonna be using 3 separate colors of Stampin' Blends, and I'm just gonna grab my scratch paper. See, look, dimensional piece, they get everywhere. I'm just gonna grab my scrap piece of paper, because when you color with Stampin' Blends, you wanna make sure your workspace is covered. It can bleed through your paper. So we're gonna use 3 colors. We have our Poppy Parade, Petal Pink, Mint Macaron, the 3 colors that we're featuring in our project here. So we're just going to color in some highlights on the train with the dark Mint Macaron Stampin' Blend. And I'm just gonna go over the lines on the train here in the dark marker. Put that off to the side. With our light marker, we're gonna color in the train. Now this is a very easy project to color. If you are not the world's best coloring expert, you can still use Stampin' Blends. They're very easy to use. No matter what your skill level is, anybody can use Stampin' Blends. I am not the coloring master, but with Stampin' Blends, I feel like I am. So that's a good aspect there. So I'm just coloring in quickly here the train, making sure not to get where I don't need colored. Do you guys like Stampin' Blends? I love these things. I hardly ever use my Stampin' Write markers. The ink in them is a little different, so I use my Stampin' Blends way more. All right, for our Santa, we're going to add, now it's going to be kind of hard to see, but I'm going to do it first and then I'll bring it closer so you guys can see. With the dark petal pink, I'm just going to dot a little bit on his cheek area. So you can see I just added a little teeny tiny dots, like there's one right there. It's kind of hard to see. This ink is so light. And then we're gonna color in his face, and then it'll look like he has little rosy cheeks. And then I'm gonna use the pink to color in his gloves. Okay, oh, and I forgot. With the dark, we're gonna color in the front and the wheel area. And then last we have our Poppy Parade. Which end am I using? Okay, it depends on which section I'm coloring. So the Stampin' Blends, sorry, they have two different ends. They have this bigger brush tip end, which is like a paintbrush, and then this other end, which is like a bullet point end. Now for smaller areas, I like to use the bullet point end because I feel like I have more control over it. So for this little tiny area on his hat, I'm using the bullet point of the light Poppy Parade Stampin' Blends. And then if I have a bigger area, like when I colored in the train, I use the brush tip just because it's bigger, it's easier to color over larger sections with the bullet point or the brush point. But when I have smaller areas like I'm working with right now, I use the bullet end. So we're just going to color in Santa's jacket. Now Stampin' Blends are meant to be blended together to create shadows and contrast on your projects. But with this project, I'm gonna be using the markers individually as a dark and a light just to create two different tones on the card. So I'm not doing any shadowing here on Santa, but you can see it just kind of brings the project to life with the Stampin' Blends colors. So very fun to be able to color him in. Now, Tanya said, thanks for clarifying. She always second guesses herself. Don't second guess yourself. Just try it once. If it doesn't work, you can always flip over the other side and see if that works better for you. All right, this time we are going to use the dies, and we're gonna use the train die here, this part here. I apologize, my husband just pulled into the driveway and my dogs may go crazy. So I apologize if you can hear them barking. They're just excited that their dad's home from work. All right, we're gonna add our washi tape again. With the washi tape, it holds it into place so you won't have any movement when you run this through the machine. Ugh, we got our big machine here again. And that's exactly, here's the back side. You can see why you want to cover your workspace because it bleeds through a little bit. So you just want to make sure your workspace is covered when you're using Stampin' Blends. All right, lift. That gives you a really good arm workout if you're looking for an arm workout. You can craft and get your exercise at the same time. All right. So with our washi tape, just like the last one, we're gonna slowly peel off our paper here. We don't want to rip anything. And there is our die cut train. Very, very fun. Now, we're also gonna do one last die cut piece. I should have had that out at the same time. So in the dies, there's these two, they're actually connected. It's one die, but they're these little like cloud looking pieces. And that's what we're gonna die cut our little smoke for our train. So I just have a scrap piece of basic white cardstock. It's good to keep all those scraps for die cutting little pieces like this. So we're gonna just cut that. Now we can move our machine. And we have our little pieces here for our clouds, the steam from the train. All right, we're gonna add our Santa. We're gonna add a little bit of liquid glue here to the back, And he is just gonna go off to the right side. These dimensional pieces, I swear. And now we're gonna add our, if I can pick this piece up, we're gonna add our little smoke with just a bit of liquid glue there. One more, the tiny one on top. And there. All right, I already pre-cut a piece of Petal Pink cardstock, again with the layering circles dies. This time we have a sentiment that says special delivery just for you. And we're gonna use that tuxedo black ink again. And that's gonna get stamped right in the middle of our Petal Pink. We're gonna add Stampin' Dimensionals to the back of that piece just to step it up and make it pop from the rest of the card. So 2 Stampin' Dimensionals, and that'll go right in that upper left corner right above our train. And then again, our last piece of our iridescent trim, the embellishment of the week. We're gonna tie that into a bow and use our glue dots to secure that down to our card. So we're just gonna make it smaller. Now this would be really fun ribbon. If you like to make ornaments at Christmas, this is a great ribbon to use for ornaments. It's got a fun tinsel look to it and it's iridescent. It's very fun. All right, our glue dots here, grab them. And I like to use my take your pick tool to pick up my glue dots, and that's gonna go in the lower left corner of our card there, and then 2 more dots to secure our piece here. All right, there we go. So that is our 3rd project tonight, featuring the Santa's Delivery stamp set and the coordinating Santa's Express Designer Series paper. Like I mentioned earlier, this is definitely my favorite project for the day, but let me bring in our other 2 projects and let me know which one is your favorite here tonight. I have to say that 3rd one is definitely my favorite. Let me get these little dimensional pieces out of the way, and then you guys can let me know which one you like the most. Very retro, very mid-modern century is what they call it now. But let me know in the comments below which one is your favorite here today. Like that middle one, that one's definitely my favorite. Kay said Santa. Well, which one? We have this Santa on the left and Santa in the middle. So we've got some fun Santa cards here today. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining me for another week of Makers Monday. Now, I am so excited. So next week, Makers Monday will just be a little bit different. I'm going to be recapping on stage. I'll be attending Stampin' Up's convention in Anaheim. I leave this coming Wednesday to go to Stampin' Up on stage. And so next week, I'll bring you all the goodies that I get at Stampin' Up on stage and share them with you. Some fun and new exciting things coming in our January